Exactly 30 days ago, I crossed the finish line of the Great Ocean Road Marathon, body wrecked, energy in my boots, legs sore. The next day, most people would rest, and I really should have, but for some reason, I decided to put my shoes on and go for another 1 kilometer. I forced myself out the door, and probably about 12 minutes later, I managed a very slow kilometer, barely moving. And that became day 1 of something I never planned. From that day on, I ended up running 30 days in a row, and it has completely changed the way I think about building a side hustle. Look, I didn't do this because I wanted to become a runner. I did this because after the marathon, I felt momentum. And I thought, what if I didn't let that die the next day? What if I just kept going? So I kept going, no excuses, rain, work, commitments. I got out the door and I got at least 1 kilometer done each day. And even though this was a physical challenge, the biggest transformation that I've found is up here in my mindset. And what I learned applies directly to someone trying to build something on the side. So here are 3 of my main takeaways. Lesson number 1, consistency over intensity. Not every day was impressive. Some days were just 1 kilometer. Some days I made it over 10 kilometers. But I showed up every single day. And that's the first lesson. Consistency beats intensity. When you're building a side hustle, you don't need to work 10 hours a day. You just need to move the needle every day. You need to not go backwards. You need to keep up the momentum. Post content, email your list, write a couple of sentences. Even if it's a small step, it stacks. That's how I build momentum in running. It's the days where I didn't feel like doing anything at all. My body said no, my mind said no, but I still did that little bit. And that same principle applies of how I'm building momentum in business. Lesson number 2, action creates motivation. As I said, on most days I didn't feel like running. My body probably could have done with a few rest days. But here's the crazy thing, once I got out the door and did my first few steps, it became easier. The motivation came after I started. The first few steps were a bit slow, a bit trash, but once I started moving, my brain switched into gear. And it's the exact same thing with starting a side hustle. Don't wait to feel ready, don't wait to have energy or motivation, especially after a long day of work. Just get yourself to the desk, open your laptop, and start. You'll be surprised how often motivation shows up once you're in motion. Lesson 3, discipline leaks into every area of your life. When I committed to this streak of running, something very unexpected happened. I started eating a bit better, going to sleep earlier. I was more focused at work, more focused on building my side hustle, spent less time scrolling. Why? Because I think discipline in one area spills into discipline in other areas. When you keep promises to yourself in one domain, like running, you become someone who follows through on other things. There's an identity shift that happens. You're the sort of person that turns up. You're the sort of person that's consistent. And that will spill over to all of your life. The truth is, I didn't expect a 1 kilometer shuffle the day after a marathon to lead to this realization. But showing up daily changed how I saw myself. Not I want to be disciplined, but I am disciplined. Not I want to be consistent, but I am consistent. And that same energy is what you need to build a side hustle around a 9 to 5. Not perfect execution or intensity, but relentless commitment and consistency. That's what's gonna matter in the long term. So here's the challenge for you. What is your version of this streak? 20 minutes of daily deep work, 1 piece of content per day, whatever it is that relates to your side hustle, and just a small daily standard. What can you do over the next 30 days to make progress in your side hustle? I'm personally gonna carry this forward and focus on my side hustle, maybe putting out a video each day, but I wanna know what yours is. And if you want something that will help you build that kind of consistency, you can get my free habit stacker template in the description. It's the system that I'm using to help me build my side hustle